doing here? We specifically told you not to follow us! Are you listening to me, Egil?
But I'm the only one who knows how to open up the way through.
What?
You have to squeeze into a really tight hole to open up the way through. You'd never be able to fit. Not in a million years.
You said nothing about this back at the house. You tricked us.
I didn't trick you. I just left that part out.
It's the same thing. Anyway, I'm small enough to fit through a silly little hole.
But you're too tiny to move the stone lever that opens the passage up.
What stone lever? You didn't say anything about that.
Nope, I didn't.
Well, we'll have to take Egil with us now. That's the only way to awaken the crystal.
We can't do that! What if he gets hurt?
No need to yell at Agnès, Tiz. What are you so upset about?
What do you propose then, Tiz? Will you make him go back by himself?
I wouldn't do that. We'll go back with him.
What if the sword bearers or black blades beat us to the temple? Egil was just attacked by the enemy, right? He was held prisoner by them before as well. They may already be aware of this passage he found.
But
I believe we should focus on the task of awakening the crystal.
Exactly! To cleanse the darkness from this world, we must accept some risk and some sacrifices.
never! What are you saying, Eri? I don't want anyone to be sacrificed. I won't allow it!
What then? You have been impossible lately, Tiz. You are trampling upon the will of Egil, the late Fire Vestal, and me. As a Vestal, I cannot let you do this. Do not interfere with my mission.
Hey, both of you need to calm down.
He reminds me of my little brother who died. Till.
What?
When that chasm opened up, and Norende was swallowed by darkness. My little brother, about the same age as Egil, he fell along with it, right before my eyes. I couldn't save him. I couldn't hold on to Till's hand any longer. The look on his face as he stared back at me and fell into that black pit hasn't left my mind ever since. The same goes for the water Vestal. It was agony, watching her life fade in front of me. I couldn't bear to watch Agnès cling to her and weep. I've seen enough death to last a lifetime. That's why I don't want to lead Egil into peril, even if it is to deliver the world from danger.
Then why don't you try to stop Agnès from facing danger, Tiz?
Because I know that no matter what, Agnès would just go off on her own. And I promised Agnès that I'd stay at her side, to be there, to protect her.
Tiz.
Well, there's your answer.
Huh? What do you mean?
We'll go together with Egil. Tiz will protect him. We all will. Right?
Please, let me go! I want to see the Fire Vestal's wishes carried out!
You win. But you're not to go wandering off without us, okay, Egil?
Got it! Thanks!
Huh? What?
Never mind. It's nothing. Let's move on.
Be careful, okay?
I will! I know this place like the back of my... Whoa!
What?
A big piece of mithril ore!
This isn't the time for that, Egil. You've got to stay with me, okay?
Oh, come on! Finding this can mean the difference between eating or not, you know. It's a precious find!
Let it go, Egil. The war will be over soon. Then you won't have to worry about finding mithril anymore.
Wow! Now that I look at it more closely, I think this is orichalcum! Amazing! When we find some of this, we get eggs with our dinner. It's my lucky day! is the place. There's a stone lever at the back of this narrow hole. Just a second.
He wasn't kidding. Only Egil or Eri could fit down there.
Okay, here I go. It opened! See? I told you so!
Whoa! I felt a blast of hot air! The Temple of Fire must be down here. Let us hurry.
This cave is the same as the one from my dreams. The Fire Vestal told me the way to go. The Temple of Fire is... that way!
Great! Way to go, Egil!
I only know because the Fire Vestal told me. It's nothing special. I bet you're glad you brought me though, right?
Yes, yes. Let's get going.
Underflow!
Are you getting tired, Egil?
Yeah, it's hot down here.
Let's take a little break then. That okay with you, Agnès?
Oh, okay.
Hey, Egil. What will you do when the war ends?
I don't know.
Isn't there anything you're passionate about?
I'd like to go to military academy. Then I want to be a guardsman for the shield bearers. My mother and father died noble deaths protecting the top shield bearers. The soldiers of the shield bearers served to protect the fire Vestal. I want to shield people, like my mother and father did.
Is that so?
But I guess I need to find a place to live before that. I have no home to go back to now. After my mother and father died, my grandfather took me in. He was really kind, but he got sick and died soon after. I had nowhere to go, and then I ran into some sword bearers who were rounding up orphans. They took me to the mithril mine.
I see. You've done well to survive on your own.
I guess I have.
Are you thirsty, Egil? We should rest a bit.
Yeah. Sorry. I have to keep my promise to the fire Vestal. I don't want to run out of steam before then.
You hold the fire Vestal dear, don't you, Egil? Your faith in crystalism is strong for such a young boy.
Well, my mother and father were followers. I'm not sure what I believe in yet. The teachings of crystalism are a bit over my head. I don't really know what to make of them.
Then why do you brave such perils?
Because I made the fire Vestal a promise. That's all. She always looked so sad in my dreams. I just want to see her smile for a change. seen this place before. We're almost at the Temple of Fire.
I wonder if that crevice leads into the temple.
The earthquakes are getting stronger. Watch your step. If you die here, Agnès, the world's last hope will perish with you.
I know.
It's shaking again!
The ground's collapsing under us! Run!
Egil!
Oh no!
I'll get him!
Hang in there! We'll get you up!
Let me help too!
No! It's too dangerous!
Airy?
I already told you, the world is doomed if you die here. Your life belongs to more than just you now. I know it's hard, but stay focused on your mission.
Tiz!
Egil! Tiz!
I'll toss Egil over to you! Get him out of here!
I'm not going to let go!
But we could both end up falling!
Unacceptable!
Agnès!
Tiz! We did it!
I cannot believe you would do such a crazy thing! You can thank your lucky stars you survived. One wrong step and you all would have been toast! That goes double for you, Agnès! Have you forgotten you are a crystal Vestal? Hey! Are you even listening to me?
Are you alright, Egil?
Yeah. Thanks for saving me.
You really gave us a scare.
I could say the same of you.
Huh?
We all said we'd help Egil, and yet you leapt in alone. What are you laughing for? I'm being serious here.
It's just... your face is covered in mud, Agnès.
What?
And where exactly did you think you were going, Agnès? That was a shock. You picked a bad time to show you have no sense of direction.
The way Agnès caught both of you with those spindly arms of hers is a story I'll pass down to my grandchildren. I didn't know you had it in you, Agnès. I've got eyes like a hawk, yet you kept it hidden all this time.
It was just the adrenaline. I surprised even myself.
So you acted without thinking whether you could pull it off?
Yes.
I'm just glad we're all safe and sound.
Tiz, and Adia, and Ringabel. I'm so sorry for saying such terrible things. Will you still stay at my side?
Of course.
Oh, not you, Egil.
He took my line.
Enough giggling! We have to hurry to the Temple of Fire! Come on! Time is running out!